So how long have you been in Palm City?
I've lived here for 14 years, 14 and a half years. I
Awesome.
came to be the lead pastor of the Cross Church here in
Mhm.
Palm City, and was just great. It's a smaller congregation. We're a Reformed Baptist congregation, but I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I've been in mega churches all my
Mhm.
life, and
Yeah.
this was such a great change. I mean, to come from churches of 1,000 or 2,000
Mhm.
and more, and then come to a church of less than 50
Mhm.
uh, is a change. But I got to tell you, and now since the product of COVID and other
Yeah.
things, well, we could have 25 on Sunday, we could have 40, we could have literally 10,
Mhm.
but it is a delight, and the Lord has kept our lampstand burning. So,
Nice.
yeah, just very, very excited to be here. My wife, Cindy, uh, is just a co-laborer here with me, not a pastor,
Mhm.
but she heads up women's ministries and the kids' ministries, and she's also a graduate of Juilliard.
Oh wow, that's
And
amazing.
so, yeah, so she plays beautiful on Sunday. And in fact, on the Christmas song Emmanuel,
Mhm.
and on 13 of the 26 songs coming up on the new album next first quarter next year, she stacked, Tom, like 20, 21 tracks of
Mhm.
strings. And it's just her playing violin and viola. And people
Nice.
said, "Where do you get that chamber orchestra?" And I said, "It's my wife. It just sounds full." And she multi-tracked all these parts. So, yeah. So we consider it a joy. I'm from Chicago originally, and she's from Michigan. So we
Oh,
think sand over snow is a better
yeah.
option,
I don't have my Chicago. I have my SIU cup, but not my Chicago
Oh, there
cup.
you go.
Yeah. So I'm originally from the south side of Chicago. So
Oh, are you really?
yeah,
Phenomenal.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So
I'm
what?
from Wheaton, Naperville area
Okay. Yeah, I grew up
originally.
in Lansing
Oh,
and
yeah.
Linwood, that area. Yeah. So
Yeah. Oh, very cool.
yeah.
Well, good,
Uh,
man.
yeah. So we're just kind of rolling into this. I wanted to keep this one a little bit more casual, and it's kind of getting a chance to get to know you a little bit. So you're originally from Chicago. You moved to Palm City 14 years ago, which is oddly right around the time my dad moved down to Palm City
Oh my
or
goodness.
down to
The
Jensen Beach.
Jensen.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah.
no, that's really cool. So where does music kind of come into play for you? How does that kind of get introduced to your life?
Well, I started with music back in 1975.
Hmm.
This is really going to date me, but I was signed to a small label uh, called Mum's Records
Hmm.
by Phonogram, and there was a band called Steppenwolf on there.
Hmm.
A guy named Albert Hammond, another guy named Boomer Castleman, and yours truly. I was 20 years old, and they lost their distribution, and I believe the story was CBS picked it up.
Hmm.
But Clive Davis was head of that division, and he was the one who helped put American Idol on the
Hmm.
map and
Yeah.
discovered Whitney Houston, all these great artists. He called me one time, Tom, and he said, "Steve, now I like your music, but," he goes, "I don't know if you're aware of this, but every song you write's about Jesus."
Hmm.
And I said, "Well, yeah, I'm aware of that." I said, "I've got a couple of love songs, regular songs in
Hmm.
his nomenclature, but," I said, "I'll write you the best love songs I can, but I want to sing about the Lord." And he says, again, this is 75, not
Yeah.
CCM industry wasn't huge at that time. So, we parted as friends, and he said, "Listen, let me give you back your songs and have at it." And so I signed with Word Records in
Hmm.
77, and my first Christian album came out in 78. And then I signed over with Sparrow in 82 and did a
Hmm.
bunch of records for them, and then Warner Alliance in like 92, and then a couple of independent projects. And it's literally been the last 7.5 years, Tom, I've been recording a new project
Yeah.
that's a double album. It's 26 songs. And my leadership here, they said, "Hey, if different pastors can have a radio
Yeah.
show, write a book, or put out
Yeah.
a study Bible, you can put out music." And I said, "Fair enough."
Hmm.
I wanted the people to know here the church was the priority,
Hmm.
uh, but music has now gradually blended in, and they're supportive of the new project. So that's a brief thumbnail
Yeah.
over the last several years, but man, a
Understood.
joy to be back doing it again.
Yeah, for sure. It's it's really interesting because we interview a lot of musicians on here, and I'm sure this isn't a shocker to you, but a lot of their roots, especially so I live in Central Texas now, a lot of the musicians'
Oh,
roots started in church. And so
oh.
just kind of like the cohesion between the two makes all the sense in the world, especially, you're a pastor and just making music, it makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, and you bring up a really good point. I have three sons
Mm,
that live, one in Austin and two in
mm.
Houston.
Oh, wow.
And they see the culture as
Mm,
that as well, whether it's country music, some blues or rock music, and then gospel music
mm,
earlier on, and
mm,
then contemporary Christian music, praise and worship music. I like your word. There is a cohesion between
mm.
not only the roots of all that, but what goes on in the church.
Yeah.
The key question for me as a pastor and as a singer-songwriter and as an artist is, how do we protect the biblical integrity of what we're trying to communicate, and as well as be salt and light to the world
Mm.
around us. So
Yeah.
there's always a dual tension there, and I haven't figured it out yet. But every day we're taking a step to try to understand it more.
Yeah,
So it's good.
understood.
Yeah.
Understood. So, you talked or you brought it up a little bit ago. You just released a new single, Emmanuel, which is that an original song or is it a cover? I'm not well versed in like the Christian music world,
No,
so.
that's all right. Emmanuel is my first original
Mhm,
Christmas song. I'm a singer-songwriter by craft and
mhm.
trade. So, I wanted to write a song. My producer, Tim Miner, he said, "Man, have you thought about doing a Christmas project?" And so it was only back in August. I said, "Well, I've got this original song," played it for him. He really liked it, and we went after it quickly.
Yes.
But the thing was that I didn't want to cover some of the great Christmas classics,
Mhm,
that a lot of artists have done,
mhm,
whether it be Silent Night, Come All Ye Faithful, or White Christmas, or some of
mhm.
these great songs. Uh, People much more gifted and talented than I am have done amazing covers of those. In fact,
Yeah,
my wife and I love listening to the old school stuff, Bing
yeah.
Crosby, Nat King Cole.
Mm,
But one of my favorite Christmas records is a group, Take Six, called "He
mhm.
Is Christmas," and even Amy Grant's Christmas album, absolutely
Yeah.
phenomenal. That's a classic. It was done years ago, and so forth. And even Cher's new album, it
I've
does.
not had a chance to hear it yet, so.
You know what? I've never looked up Cher in my life, and
Yeah.
I saw her on the Macy's Day Parade,
Mhm,
and I looked it up and I listened down to the album. Now, there's no gospel-centered Christian Christmas songs on her record. It's just more
mm,
I hate to use the word, but more the secular reindeer, Santa
mhm.
baby,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. She was amazing. I have to say, blew me away. She sounded great. So, I didn't want to go that route with
Mhm,
anything that we'd be doing. So we tried one here, and we had some great people involved. People have really responded well to it.
mm.
And I've
Yeah.
got another six or seven, Tom, that I'm writing.
Mhm.
So, Lord willing, a year from now, I can record another seven original
Yeah.
Christmas songs that hopefully people can use as part of some of these great classics that they've enjoyed for years.
Oh yeah, for sure. One thing that I've really enjoyed about listening to you and your music, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, but your authenticity, like
Oh,
everything that, because you kind of mentioned that you didn't want to go the more secular route of Christmas with like Santa and the reindeer and all that stuff, but you wanted to kind of keep more focus on the religious aspect of things. And th- to me, this is my opinion for what it's worth,
yeah.
it that just feels like who you are. That's truly what you feel. That's,
Uh,
it's like you're just being authentically you. And now if you wrote a song called Santa Comes Down the Chimney, like obviously that's a very terrible title, but I
or
don't
don't
think it
don't throw
quite.
grandma under the reindeer. That's one of my
Yeah,
favorite old
yeah,
country classics.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I just don't think it would hit the same way. So.
No, I appreciate that. You know what? I There was a man in the first century or
Mm,
second century, actually. His name is Polycarp. In church history, he was a direct disciple of the Apostle John.
mhm,
And 86 years old, he was brought into the arena there under the Caesars.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting because they would say if you're not worshiping the imperial cult of the Caesars, that you were an atheist. All right. So he loved the Lord, but didn't worship the Caesars. So they were going to burn him at the stake. And they said, we'll give you one more chance to deny Christ and to follow us. And he said, 86 years, my Lord has never failed me. I'm not about to deny him.
Hmm.
And it was really interesting when I read that story of him. I thought, oh Lord, I'm no Polycarp. I don't
Hmm.
deserve to be mentioned in the same phrase as him, but help me to have an authentic,
Yeah.
uncompromised dedication to the message,
Yeah.
especially Tom in the times that we live in, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you would think all opinions are welcome, but they're really not. And
Yeah.
and I just hope that some of these songs, especially this Christmas song, in kind of a dark time we're living in, can bring a little joy and hope and
Hmm.
some private time of worship to say that it, as the saying goes, the reason for the season is Jesus. I mean, he was
Hmm.
born Emmanuel, God with us, a phrase I adopted from the Gospel of Matthew, where the angel is saying, "You'll call his name Jesus. He'll save his people from their sins, but he's Emmanuel, God with us." By the angel Gabriel to Mary and Joseph. And I thought, man, what a positive thing. We couldn't come to God on our own. He came to us in the
Hmm.
person of Christ. And so I hope this song will encourage people to that end. But thanks for
Yeah.
that encouragement. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of want to jump into a little bit of the technical aspects of things. Did
Yeah.
you go up to like Nashville and record, or were you recording in like Palm City there?
Well, I have a kind of a makeshift home studio here,
Hmm.
but I went up to Nashville. That's where my producer Tim lives.
Hmm.
And how we start on the development of the track is I'll play down to a click,
Hmm.
sometimes not, but mostly to a click, a piano track. I'm a piano player and some guitar, rhythm guitar player, but I'll
Yeah.
play the piano down. I'll sing what we call a scratch vocal. It's a guide vocal
Hmm.
with the piano, and then we'll build harmonies and things around it. And then he'll have in, we had Tabitha Fair and another gal come in, just brilliant, sang backgrounds. And then Tim adds, bass or, some of the synthesizer
Hmm.
little fun things you hear in there, some drum programming. We had a guy named Ron Robertson out of LA play at drums on this. Guy's amazing. He's
Yeah.
just brilliant. And then we contacted Phil Lassiter in Europe. Phil
Mm.
and his horn section are unbelievable. He's done most of the Justin Timberlake stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he recorded for Prince back in the day, but just a gifted guy. Texted him and said he did some charts for us on the album as well. I said, "Are you free?" And he goes, "Man, I got a 10-day window. Get me the track." And I just love these horns. People have commented on the horn arrangement on this thing. They said, "Man, that kind of made the song for us, Steve." And I
Yeah.
thought, how cool. So, we had that kind of thing. And then eventually, then my wife went up to Nashville and played several hours with Tim
Mm.
doing the arrangements for the orchestra. And then I tweaked my lead vocals some, and then he mixed and mastered it. So that was how we built it. What's interesting, you don't have to have everybody in the room at the same time. Like
Mm.
when I was
Yeah.
growing up, you can literally we transfer it or
Yeah.
Dropbox tracks, and people all around the globe will send it out and keep that as if you're in the room with them, but you can get the really some wonderful musicians
Yeah.
that may not be free to travel, but they got 2 hours free to put down a bass part
Yeah.
or a drum. Saw it on YouTube and
Mm.
different channels when they would videotape.
Hmm.
Everyone would have their iPhone or their
Yep.
camera or whatever going, and you'd see a half a dozen screens, and they're all playing at the same time, linked
Hmm.
up together, but
Yeah.
yet they're all around the globe or around the
Yeah.
country. They feel a little safer in
Yeah.
that environment. And man, just the music didn't have to stop. You know, it was
Hmm.
wonderful, wonderful thing. So
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure. So how do you kind of balance everything? Obviously, with music, it's its own animal, but then you also have your congregation and your duties there. How do you kind of balance everything?
great question. For me, it's been a simple thing because it's been gradual blending
Hmm.
in some of the music. For me personally, it's my walk with the Lord is key. Then,
Hmm.
secondly, my wife. Thirdly, we have all adult kids and
Hmm.
grandkids, family next, and then local church on top of that. And then, lastly, the music and the
Hmm.
arts. So, all of that can complement each other.
Hmm.
It's like I'll never be a full touring artist again,
Hmm.
but I could go out on a Thursday and Friday night,
Hmm.
do a couple of concerts, and then be back Saturday morning and still do pastoral duties Monday
Hmm.
through Thursday afternoon,
Yeah.
say, and then be back in. So, because we've walked kind of integrating those things now over a period of time, just like now, I'm in the
Mm.
church conference room
Yeah.
here. You can see the books behind me doing the interview,
Hmm.
and it's great. Our family lives on the campus
Hmm.
here. They call it a parsonage where the pastor
Yeah.
lives, but we're here. And so, we've been able to make it work and still do the discipleship. And I preach every week and help with the worship time. And you have to fight for those moments
Hmm.
someday, Tom. It's not easy, I'll
Yeah.
be honest. But you know what? When those things are all functioning in their proper deal, if
Hmm.
I allowed, in other words, the music to overshadow the
Yeah.
church, I know I wouldn't be honoring the Lord, and the people here would let me know immediately.
Hmm.
And I have a great wife that keeps me staying true
Yeah.
to many of these different aspects. So that's how I do it, at least. And if you make up your mind on those priorities, like anything in life, but for me, of that, then if you say these things are not for sale,
Hmm.
my own life, then it becomes easier to you fear God first and foremost, and then you serve others. And how
Hmm.
that service comes from family to church in my area to music, those things then keep their proper perspective.
Hmm.
And so, like afterwards tonight, when I'm done with the interview here with you, some of our kids are in town, and we're going to be seeing them. My wife made some great ribs,
Nice.
and we're gonna do a little recording. I've got some talented sons, and they said, "Dad, let's just
Nice.
heat up the computer and try a few things, and we're just
Yeah.
gonna have some fun, But we're
Nice.
all together, and it's so that's how I try to keep those things in
Nice.
balance. And yeah, and so far the Lord's been gracious to us with those things. So yeah, it's
That,
good.
that's awesome. You brought up ribs. Ribs are my absolute favorite. It's
Oh,
I'm
phenomenal.
actually kind of bummed because yesterday, so we've been going through some transformations at work at my day job, and
Okay.
we had like a going away party for one of the guys that's leaving, and they went to an all you can eat rib barbecue place.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I couldn't go, and I was just like,
Oh
"Can
no.
somebody bring me back ribs, please, over here." So
Hey man, in Texas is second to none
yeah.
when it comes to ribs. But my wife is an amazing cook, and so
Mm,
she does it all. We don't buy
mm,
anything prepared. She cooks it fresh and even makes her own seasoning
yeah,
and
yeah.
sauces. So
That
we try to live a little bit of Texas and South Florida here. It's fun.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I'm currently on that journey as well. Not barbecue because there's so many people that do like barbecue and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm currently trying to make the perfect Chicago pizza.
Oh man, now you're in my world. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it, everybody here loves pizza, but they all talk about barbecue and bacon barbecue and all that stuff. And I was like, yeah, I kind of want to stand out a little bit. I want to be the guy that makes pizza, and they come to me if they want pizza.
Good for you, man.
So
Hey, we have a Chicago pizza place not far from us here.
is it
And
Pusatari's?
yes, how'd you know that?
Because my dad and I go there all the time.
Oh man, so
Yeah,
that's the closest thing that we
yeah,
have to Chicago pie.
yeah.
They hand roll their own
Mm,
sausages. Now it's not deep dish like you'd find at
no,
Uno's or,
yeah. It's
Gino's or whatever.
from what I could gather, it's pretty close to Aurelio's.
Yeah,
Is
that's right.
yeah, yeah.
That'd be a
So
good comparison.
yeah.
So yeah, we love it. There was a place called Marshall's
Hmm.
in the suburbs, and he was an old vet, just a hoot of a guy. His name was Marshall,
Hmm.
and I used to order his pie. It was this thick.
Yeah.
It was made out of pie dough
Nice.
crust, so it wasn't real doughy. He brought all of his pots and pans when I used to live in Nashville,
Mm,
down to Nashville, and I was teaching a Bible study there. We had about 75, 80 people come
mm,
midweek, and he made fresh pizza from Marshall's for us. He'd never been out of town. He goes, "I'll give you the pie for free. Just fly me down."
yeah.
And man, it was the real deal. And people there freaked out in Nashville
Mm,
because they're like, we've never tasted anything like
yeah.
this before. So, but Pusatiri's in a pinch, they're
Yeah.
Chicago dogs as well,
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah. There's also a place in Jensen Beach. What's it called? Kai and Ike's, or Ike's and Kai. So,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
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 There's a. I didn't like it the first time I went, but we went back a couple of times later, and they're kind of figuring out their recipe. So
Yeah. No, that's cool.
yeah. But really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with me. It's been an absolute blast to reminisce on some old Chicago days and, talk a little Florida music, all the fun stuff. So I really
Absolutely.
appreciate you. If anybody wants to check out Emmanuel or any of your other music or the upcoming double album, let me not
Yeah.
disrespect that.
Yeah.
Any of your upcoming music, where can they find you?
It's at our new website. It's called realstevecamp.com,
Mm-hmm.
realstevecamp.com. There are several links to social platforms. Emmanuel is streaming on everything from iTunes to Spotify, and there's a link there to the lyric video with YouTube as well. We also have a performance track of it. People requested that because they're like, "Man, can you do a TV mix without your lead vocal?" And we'd
Mm-hmm.
love to sing it at our church, our gathering. Some guys busk on the streets, and they're like, "Man, we'd love to play the track and bust some Christmas stuff." So whatever it may be, they can find it all there, and then little by little, the rest of the album will be uploaded in about 3 to 4 weeks, and we hope people will enjoy it. But right now, it's on all social media platforms and the streaming services, and that's the best way they can enjoy it. But you can also sign up for a newsletter there, and
Mm-hmm.
man, have people, if they feel comfortable, put up a comment. I'd love to know what people think of the songs. Not fishing for a compliment. If they don't
Yeah.
like a certain song, that's cool too.
Yeah.
You write a varied amount of things, but I love enjoying things like this, real
Yeah.
conversations. And so, yeah, realstevecamp.com. And thanks for allowing me to promote that a bit here today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad we got a chance to sit down and chat. And as I was kind of preparing this, I real for whatever reason I just saw Florida, and I didn't. I have this a tendency to conflate Palm City with Palm Bay, and
Oh,
just
wow.
like Palm Bay is like a completely different part of the state, but it's I just saw that and I was like, okay, cool. And then I realized, no, Palm City, that's like 10 minutes from my dad. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah,
cool. Well, and the fact that you grew up on the south side of Chicago, my
yeah,
dad, who's with the Lord now, he started working as a taxi cab driver on the
nice,
south side of Chicago
yeah,
decades ago.
yeah.
And man, just loved it. I miss that city. I
Mm,
feel bad for what's happening to it these last several years, but
yeah.
oh man, I miss Chi. It's a
Yeah.
great place, and I miss that sports kind of
Oh yeah.
intensity
Yeah.
that I used
Yes.
to
Yes.
go to you know what I'm saying? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
we don't have a lot to cheer about these days and on most days, but man, what a wonderful heritage. I've got my White Sox cap, my Cubs
Okay.
hat, my Bears cap, my Bulls cap, and so
Mm,
I'm reliving it little by little
yeah.
as we as
Hey,
we go through it. But
at least the Bears are turning it around a little bit. They're
yeah,
starting to
they
do something.
are.
So
Yeah, they are. It's very cool.
yeah, awesome.
Well, Tom,
Well,
thank you, man. Merry Christmas to you. Enjoy some ribs
yeah.
and have a great holiday this year.
Yep. You as well. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will catch you all later.